From old to new, we've spent the last few weeks ripping out old furniture and building a new saloon area on our boat. But it wasn't just for the added storage and more practical setup. We now have room to install our Dickinsons diesel heater to keep us warm in this cold Scottish winter we're experiencing.
Okay, so we've built the structure to place the heater on top. Now it's time to put the heater in. We're still sort of putting coats of varnish and whatnot on, which takes forever in this heat, or rather lack of heat in this cold. But we've begun the process of sort of building the infrastructure or putting the plumbing together, if you will. So there's a few ways you can do it to plumb in the heater. You can have a gravity feed tank, which obviously just uses hydrostatic pressure to sort of fill the bowl in the bottom of the diesel heater and you're away to the races. Or you can pump it in from your main tank using a T-junction for your main fuel line and a valve or a check valve, or however you want to stop the engine from sucking the diesel back out of the heater and causing fuel starvation. Or you can use a combination of both, which is what Dickinsons has in their manual. That's what we're going to do. I think that's the smartest way because it's a sort of a compromise between the two and it removes a lot. It gives you some redundancy. So in a nutshell, what we're going to do is we're going to have a gravity feed day tank, a T-junction off of the main fuel line that runs to the engine. And then between the T-junction, we're going to have a valve, a filter and a shut-off valve. And we're going to use a transfer pump to pump fuel up from the main fuel line to the day tank, after which it will gravity feed down to the heater. Now, my thinking behind that is that if for whatever reason we have a problem with the fuel line, we have a problem with the fuel pump, we can always just manually fill the tank and still use the heater. We can also sort of meter how much fuel we're using as opposed to just leaving it running and it's tick, 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 and before you know it, the engine doesn't start because you've used every drop of fuel you have staying warm. You also don't have the tick, tick, tick going constantly, so you sort of, the duty cycle on this will be about 2-3 minutes to fill the 5-litre tank, and then it'll be switched off and there'll be no ticking. It just gravity feeds, it just takes what it wants. So that will be a lot quieter. So I'll try to walk you through. So the main fuel line runs along under the floor here. So we're going to have a T-junction. T-junction is going to splice into the main fuel line, and then that'll be under the floor in no man's land. From there, you'll have a hose coming up to a fuel filter, which is on its way, which will have a fuel shut-off tap attached to it, which will live in here. From there, you'll have fuel running by hose, not rubber hose, through the back, through the cabin sole, all the way up to on the other side of this wall, which is where this fuel tank is going to live. And then it'll meet the fuel pump, the lift pump, which will be adjacent to the tank, which will suck the fuel up the line. The head pressure, I believe, is fine. We did consider that, and I think it's going to be okay, and fill the day tank. From there, we will have hose again running down here. Eventually it will terminate and become a flared brass hose, which is a recommendation for fire protection that Dickinsons has in their manual, which we're going to agree with, which will come down here, track the underside of this table bench, and very casually pop up through here, where it will join the flare fitting on the bottom of the heater. I think that's everything in a nutshell. And there'll be a fuel filter and a shut-off valve here. So when we want to fill the day tank, the action should be open the cupboard, open the valve, push the little button that I'm going to hide in here, tick, 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 away goes the transfer pump, the lift pump. Okay, cool, tank's full, that's that done for another 12 hours. Shut off the valve, close the door, we're back to gravity fed. There's no reverse suction issue on the fuel line, there's no ticking, and there's no power draw, so that is that. Then you boot up the heater and make a cup of tea, which is what I'm going to do now.
Okay, we're at the heater install stage of the project, and while it's a really, really nice day here, like it's pretty flat, there's not really much wind, and it's like beautiful blue skies, I figured that I'll do all the outside work of the heater install. Pretty much what that includes is trying to install our chimney flue from the outside of the deck to go inside. So what we've decided to do is use one of our Dorade vents. So what we're going to do is take this wooden Dorade box off, I'm going to cut down the shape that the Gerard box sits on. It's kind of like a fiberglass shape that it already sits on, and get it so that this fits perfectly flush to the deck. The issue that we do also have as well is that it's going to sit like this because our deck slants. So what we'll need to do is also build a little block underneath it, a wooden block underneath it, so that it sits vertically. So that's what we're going to have to do today on this beautiful day. I'll just see how far I can get. For now, it's cutting down some of the fiberglass on the deck where the Gerard sits. Well, it's just started to snow a little bit, so I think that means it's a suitable time to pack up and go back downstairs. I've managed to get the surface pretty well flush. I need to sand it back a little bit just so it's like proper flush, but it's a good start for another good day when I can start making the base for it. That's going to be kind of tapered so that it ends up with the chimney being flush. Oh, sorry, being level, I guess, horizontal. All right, let's pack up and go inside. Working in the snow is just not ideal. Adam, it's snowing. Yay. Can I pass things down to you?
What?
It's snowing.
Whoa.
I think I need to stop working.
I think you're done outside. Whoa, those guys next door just went sailing. Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Oh, bad day to go sailing. Oh, I don't know why I get so amused by this still. It's like hail snow.
Tiny, tiny hail.
I know, it's really weird.
Like
We're the
dry.
only idiots out here.
Completely dry.
He's snowing! And I found a ninja in the snow. Alright, my hands are freezing now. I'm gonna have to put the camera down.
It's like someone's got a polystyrene machine. This is like fake. It's so. I've never seen snow that is this dry. Alright, let's get. I mean, I'm not even that worried about the tools because it's so dry. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like sweep it off.
Ooh, chilly. You can see I've blunted 2 blades here. Process of this. Fiberglass is very strong. After a few days of rain and snow, having a giant hole in the deck wasn't really ideal. So as quickly as possible, we made up a wooden base for the flue, covered it in epoxy and stuck it onto the deck. Then when the sun finally made an appearance, it was time to finish up the job.
Okay, so we've got the hole ready. We had to pull away some plywood for the nut clearance and the roof lining, so the bolts will come to about there, and I'll just cut them off so the roof lining can go back up. The rain is, in the time that we've been doing this job, we've had snow, sunshine, and now it looks like the rain is on its way back, so we kind of have to hustle up. For now, I just want it in and sealed because it's going to rain again at any second, and this is the limited window we have, and it's rapidly closing. So I think
I can see the rain coming in from the hatch behind you.
Gotta go.
I don't know what it is about this job, but it snows whenever we try and do this job. Last time it started snowing when I was cutting the Gerard thing, and now it's snowing again. We'll reconvene this job when the snow stops this time. Third time lucky, we finally managed to get the flue screwed onto the deck with some high heat silicone sealant. With the hole in the deck now plugged, we could focus on installing the heater properly. So behind the heater and against the wall, we're going to need to put some of these heat insulating bricks. That's just to protect the wood and make sure that it doesn't get too hot behind the heater. So we'll pop some of these against the wall, and I've got some high heat silicone which we also used to put the flue in. On top of that, we'll also put a stainless steel sheet as well, A, to make it look nice, and also because it's what they tell you to do. So I'll start doing that now.
So we have these spacer
Standoff screws.
standoff screws. There we go. We have a standoff screws here, and they're exactly the right length for the heat shielding that we've got on the wall to offset the stainless steel cover plate. Cover plate that is going to protect the wall and hide this nasty looking stuff. And then the way they work is that's just a threaded drum that you sort of put a screw in there, and it lives inside and holds that to the wall, and then you put that through your piece of stainless and screw it in, and that holds everything in place. So that's step one. And then step two, we can actually put the heater in, bolt it down, plumb it in, and hopefully have some warmth today.
Okay, so we've installed the stainless steel backing plate. Looks very, very nice. Next we're on to trying to put the fuel lines in. These are the flexible fuel lines, not the copper fuel line. So what we need to do is figure out where our bow tank's fuel supply line goes to, and then we need to cut that one in half so that we can put a hose in the middle of them. Now we're making a mess because we've got all of the floorboards up trying to find which one of our four lines is a bow supply line. It's very confusing again. Starting.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
So we have a fuel line running up to the day tank, and now we have to install the lift pump, which is very good at pulling and not very good at pushing. So we're going to install it adjacent to the tank so that it's just draws the fuel up the line, and then just
the fuel up the line.
Yep, and then plonks it out the top.
Tell us the story.
Okay, so it's not pretty yet, but it's all wired up and plumbed in. Rather, the day tank lift pump situation is plumbed in. So there'll be a shut-off valve there. We close the valve. No more fuel, so it can't suck, it can't starve itself or mess with the engine in any way. And then open said fuel valve. A little sneaky switch here, which when we click, I'll click it quickly. The pump kicks in, the lift pump up the back there, pumping away, and diesel finds its way into the tank. I have to stop there though, because I haven't plumbed in the bottom half of the tank now, and as soon as that diesel rises to the outlet, we're going to start leaking diesel everywhere, so we'll stop it right there. And it's worth noting that if we decide that the intervals of topping off is frustrating and annoying, can always put a bigger day tank in there. Okay, we're at the frightening stage of drilling into our new table. I know, it's so stupid, right? You rip out the walls of the boat and you're nervous about that. Then you rebuild something and you're happy with the finish, and you spend all this time varnishing it and making it pretty. Then you start drilling holes in that again to install the thing that it's supposed to have. Can't win. I have to drill through this lovely varnished ply table that we've built so that the hose that has just arrived, which will have a flared fitting, which will marry up to the heater flare fitting, can run down through the table, through this wall, across the cupboard and up, transfer to a rubber hose where it will meet to the tank, eventually find its way to the fuel tank.
Playing Millie and Adam's calming music right now. It's needed while working in a cupboard.
Now for the final flare, and then I should be able to get connected. Oh, did we? We didn't. You know what we just did?
We forgot to put a flare nut on before we flared it. Now, because it's flared, the nut won't go on. We'll need to cut it. Okay, second time lucky.
Yep, we'll see. Find out when we connect it up. It feels good. Doesn't leak. It's not good enough. Of course, the one you film is the ugly one, and the one I did in the cupboard where you won't possibly film it is like perfect.
Third time lucky.
Okay, so I've spent all morning trying to get the flue installed, which you can see I have done so now. I had to think outside the box a little, make a few modifications, namely chopping off a select part of this main section here. It's just the geometry of the shape I had to make just couldn't be done without modifying this length. We have this grating, which I also am going to need to modify at a later date because the what's it called? Harmonic balance? No, that's a part of a diesel truck. This thing, this little flappy paddle valve, which allows extra air into the flow of the chimney stack, kind of impedes on the cage that's supposed to go around the chimney. I'm going to modify the cage so that this just kind of peeks out the front a little bit and shorten it slightly so it just sort of lives here. But I'll do that once I get the thing burning. The next challenge I had to deal with, which I have just overcome, is an airlock, which is fairly self-explanatory. I shouldn't have to tell you what that is, but it took me quite a while to figure out. It's only when I started disconnecting lines that I saw like a big bloop bloop bloop, and then fuel started pouring out properly. Reconnected said line, and we're away to the races. So now I have to light the thing and hope I don't blow myself up.
It's done! We/Adam, pretty much Adam, has hooked it up all together, and now is the time to properly test it in front of the camera. We've done our own little test behind the scenes because we didn't want to like film it and then it not actually, and then us have no idea what we're doing. So it does work. It looks amazing. Look at this. It's all in. It looks fantastic. Now it's time to light it and get this boat hot.
It's a bit of a slow start though, so I don't know, man. Like we'll be here all day if everyone has to watch because you got to prime the bowl and then you light the primer fuel and then you let that burn down to heat up the unit and then you turn on the fuel tap and then it comes up and it takes some time and then you have it's a process. Probably takes.
Sounds like it.
It takes 15 minutes to get it up to a canter. So I'll spare you all of that, but. Here it is.
Let's start.
You're about to see it lit.
Finally, this whole project is purely to put this thing in. The whole couch project, everything is purely to put this thing in. So finally at this stage.
So the priming fuel is ignited and you put all the bits back